Welcome back, Mihawk Fan Club, to another One Piece poll video. Today, we gotta talk about the world's strongest swordsman, because Oda, whether it was intentional or not, did bring in a Mihawk parallel with the Nemesis attack. Some people can see the connection. Some people do not. They simply think that the Mihawk connectors are grasping at straws, and I think that's totally fine, right? When it comes to theories, they're simply that until they're proven. But when it comes to Mihawk and his potential connection to the Holy Land, that has kind of always been a theory. I'm not too sure when the theory first started, but it has always been around the block, and with each passing arc in One Piece, the theory that Mihawk has celestial dragon blood just seems to be getting better and better and better. So, you know exactly what I had to do in light of Imu's Nemesis attack. I held a poll about it. So here we have it. Is Dracule Mihawk a celestial dragon? We got 3 options on the board. The first one being yes, he is a celestial dragon. The second one being yes, but not just any celestial dragon. He is actually from the Nerona family. He is related to the king of the world, Imu. And as far as the last option goes, it simply says that no, he is just a regular dude. So, as you can see right here, we have 79% of the votes going to Mihawk having royal lineage. I know, look at this. 28 say celestial, but you added on to this one because the Imu option also means he's a celestial, and you got a whopping 78% of people believing this theory. Brother, you bring 10 people into a room, 8 of them are Mihawk celestial dragon supporters. That is kind of crazy. Typically, whenever we throw theories up here into the polls, they're more or less 50-50. You know, sometimes people don't believe in certain theories, but this right here might be the biggest turnout for yes that we have seen thus far. And you might be wondering why. Is it simply because of Imu using the Nemesis attack? Again, while that is a nice nod to Mihawk, that isn't the full picture. So, going back to the brass tacks, I'm going to quickly explain this because I've been talking about Mihawk potentially being Celestial Dragon for a long time now. If you're not new to this channel, this is probably the 3rd or 4th video about this topic that I've made. But the quick rundown is that Mihawk's manner of speaking, the way he speaks in Japanese, is very eloquent. At the beginning of One Piece, a lot of people equated him to nobility off rip. So that's one big key factor. Next up, of course, we have Doflamingo with his final ultimate attack. Sai, what the hell does Doflamingo have to do with anything? Well, Doflamingo is a fallen celestial dragon, and the final attack he used against Luffy was, of course, the 16 heavenly bullets. Mihawk, not canon, does have an attack name in One Piece Pirate Warriors 4, which, of course, you know, these Japanese studios, they do work hand in hand with Oda's team to make these video games. They named all of Mihawk's attacks, and one of his finishers is 16-Day Moon. 1616? There's no way that is a coincidence. And not just that, if we are going down the non-canon route, Mihawk also has an attack literally called Mu. And here's the thing, going back to the 16 named attack, Imu, when you break down that name, it does mean 1-6. Very similar to how Luffy is 5-6 for Gomu, Imu is 1-6. So the 16 that Doflamingo and Mihawk share in their final attacks could be a nod towards the king of the world. And not just that, but back in Sabaody, we heard that if you cross paths with a celestial dragon and you're a civilian that they don't like, they do execute you by shooting you 16 times. 16, 16, 16, 16. I personally do not think that is a coincidence. So now, the next thing to bring up is, of course, Mihawk's double ringed eyes. This is a weird one, because while Mihawk and Imu share the same eyes, the pupil color is, of course, different, and there's not just those two that have the eyes, but we also have Caribou and Cavendish. So does that mean that Caribou and Cavendish are related to Imu? No. So I wouldn't put all my eggs in this basket. It's one of those ones where it could mean something, could mean nothing. We gotta reserve our opinion on that one. at least for now. So, back to the brass tacks. Another thing that is interesting, if Mihawk turned out to be a celestial dragon, would be his relationship to Shanks. We know that Mihawk and Shanks have been rivals for a very, very, very long time now. We have no idea where this first started. Perhaps it happened in the Holy Land. I think that right there is one of the easiest ways to bring up their rivalry. Like, oh yeah, they were in the Holy Land together, they both left together, and they just carried this friendship and rivalry to the pirate world. I think that'd be pretty damn fire. And now for the last two big points to make, but of course, his name, Dracule Mihawk. Of course, this could be a coincidence because Mihawk was conceptualized literally from the very start of One Piece, but Dracule does mean son of the dragon. And of course, if you were to modernize it, it also means son of the devil, which is very fitting if he were a celestial dragon, especially if he were related to Imu. Again, could be a coincidence, but it could also be one of those things that Oda just leans into. It could be a happy coincidence. He says, oh, actually, I always wanted Mihawk to be a celestial dragon, and this right here just works in its favor. So now, for the last thing to bring up, of course, this is related to Imu's latest attack, NEMESIS, but it does somewhat parallel the attack that Mihawk used against Luffy back at Marineford. Yes, I know a downward sword attack isn't super crazy in the world of One Piece or in other fantasy anime, but what's interesting is the name of Imu's attack. It's called Nemesis, Divine Punishment. The thing is, Nemesis is also a Greek goddess, and not just any Greek goddess, but they are considered the daughter of the night, which is the name of Mihawk's blade, because Yoru does literally translate to night. Is this just grasping at straws? Perhaps, but the connection is there if you want to go the distance, if you really want to run with the theory. And here's the thing, out of all the theories out there in the world right now in regards to One Piece, this is one of the better ones. I will say that. This is one of those theories that's out there that has decent grounds. It's not that awful. And Mihawk has always been a very odd character in the series. How is he going to come into the story? Will he simply show up at the very end and fight Zoro and call it a day? We don't really know how he fits in. If he did turn out to have some sort of celestial dragon lineage, this could be Oda's way of planting him in that final saga, finding a space for Mihawk to fit in with all the battles. I would not hate it whatsoever. And as far as how he is a celestial dragon, he could simply be a bastard child, right? Maybe Dracule is an indication that he is a bastard. Maybe the Dracule name right here, son of the dragon, is a name they give to bastards. Kind of like how Game of Thrones, you know, they name bastards snow, sand, rivers, etc. That could be it right there. Oh, Mihawk's one of us? Well, yes, but we don't want him, so kick him to the curb, boom. Give him the name Dracule. I would not mind that whatsoever. So yeah, look at the breakdown, brother. 28% believe he is a Celestial, 51% believe that he's a Nerona clansman, while only 21% of people believe that he is just a regular dude. When it comes to my opinion on the matter, you guys already know where I fall already. I am a big fan of this theory. It makes him relevant. It gives him some nice backstory. It explains the rivalry. There's kind of just no reason to not make him a celestial dragon at this point, other than you don't like Nepo piece, which is totally fair, right? That's more of a subjective opinion. If you don't like every character being related, that is a-okay. But now you know what we gotta do. But we gotta look at those damn comments to see what everybody is talking about. But also, real quick, before we get into it, I have seen some people, and keep in mind, this isn't just like a one guy thing, two guy thing. No. I have seen a good dozen people take this poll question and run a different direction with it. When we ask the question, is Dracule Mihawk a celestial dragon? We literally mean it. You know, some people are like, oh, yes, he might have celestial dragon blood, but he doesn't act like a celestial dragon. He's a celestial dragon, but hear me out, Sai. He doesn't live in the Holy Land, so he's not really a dragon. Guys, I mean by blood. You know, we're talking about lineage here. I get it. I agree. Yes, he's not your typical slave owner, 100%. We're talking about blood though, right? Is his dad or mom a celestial dragon? That is the big question. Maybe I should have rephrased it like that. Like, oh, were one of his parents a celestial dragon? Is it his blood? Maybe I should have specified that. Is his blood that of a dragon? Yeah, I've seen some people bringing up some crazy perspectives, and I agree with most of them. It's just like, wait. It's not the question here, guys. We're not trying to get philosophical with this one, y'all. I appreciate the effort, though. I really do. Top comment says, if Mihawk were a celestial dragon, it would be another interesting parallel between him and Shanks. And I agree. When it comes to Mihawk being one of these guys, I do like the Nerona connection, but I wouldn't mind if he was simply just from a different family entirely. Like maybe the Bavettes, for example. I always bring them up. But during the God Valley hunting tournament, Fagarlands were the top dogs, right? They talked about how the Fagarlands had first place, and right behind the Fagarlands was the Bavette family. But wouldn't you know it, we met nobody from the Bavette family at God Valley or even current day. And then behind the Bavettes, of course, was the Man Meyer family with Gunko and that other random girl with the hat that we haven't seen yet. So with that being said, I wouldn't mind if Mihawk was from the Bavette family, and that, of course, like you said, furthers the rivalry. It's not just a Nerona guy versus a Fagarland. No. It's the Fagarlands versus the Bavettes, and they always had that rivalry amongst the Celestial Dragon clans. This says, what I'm more interested in is where he got the sword. It doesn't look like a sword made for a pirate, but rather someone with a high ranking in the world government. That would be really cool. And, when it comes to Shanks, we're not sure where Shanks got Griffin from, but his brother has Cerberus. His brother has a Cerberus blade. Shanks has a Griffin blade. They're both mythological creatures. If you told me that Garling gave Shanks Griffin, I'd believe you. And, going back to the Shanks parallel, maybe Mihawk got Yoru from his Celestial Dragon family, whether it's the Nerona, the Bavettes, or somebody else. That wouldn't be bad. I mean, hell, his sword looks expensive. His sword really does. So yeah, if he got it due to connections, that would not be awful. Maybe they used the sword to buy him out. Like, hey, you also, like Doflamingo, know about the sacred treasure of the Holy Land. Mihawk, shut up! And we'll give you this sword. And then he takes it and he leaves. Or he simply found it, and that would also be really cool. He doesn't have to have been given the sword, but I would not mind it. When it comes to Mihawk as well, right, we have a panel of Mihawk as a kid, and he was looking very trashy. Hopefully I can find the image and I can throw it up right here for you guys, but Mihawk did look poor. And that, again, could be because he's a bastard child, right? He might not have been treated as nicely as the other Celestial Dragon kids. Hell, they might have dumped Mihawk ASAP like how they dumped Bonnie, right? Oh, Genie gave birth to a girl? Yeah, kick her ass out of the Holy Land. Maybe they did the same thing for Mihawk here because they didn't see value within him. And again, like Doflamingo as a kid tried to go back to the Holy Land. They said, hey kid, scram, get out of here. We do not know a lot about Mihawk's backstory. So he could have been revered in the Holy Land. He could have been hated. I think both are pretty viable routes. And also, one more thing I do want to bring up before we move on. But Mihawk had a very interesting line when he was first introduced. He talked about how, when he was fighting Zoro, that he doesn't like to hunt rabbits with a cannon. So that's why he whipped out his little blade. And then, of course, we go on to the rabbit hunting tournament, and it's like, hey, I don't know, man. Like, rabbit hunting tournament, Mihawk doesn't like hunting rabbits with a cannon. Is there something there? It could be. And of course, that wasn't the only time Mihawk and rabbits have been correlated. Most recently, in the cover pages, Perona was confusing Mihawk with the rabbit, right? Which was Randolph. And there was also an SBS where Oda drew a what if concept, and it was, what if Mihawk had a son? And guess what happened? His son was also talking about goddamn rabbits. Like I said, guys, the Mihawk Celestial Dragon theories, it's been around for a minute. Some people are acting like chapter 1181 was what really moved the needle over. No. If I held this poll a month ago, I do not think the results would be super different from this. Of course, maybe the Imu one would fall down to like 40%, 30%, but they would probably just lean more towards this right here rather than regular person. I do think this theory has been thriving in the shadows for a hot minute now. So let's see here. This one says, Mihawk is probably a distant relative that has his bloodline diluted after generations. I wouldn't mind that. This wouldn't be a bad one either. Again, leaning into Son of the Dragon. Maybe his mom or grandpa was related to a Celestial Dragon. Maybe they're enslaved. And then, boom, here comes Mihawk. And they just gave him the Dracule name to kind of nod at the Celestial Dragon ties. This says, honestly, I'd be surprised if he wasn't related to Imu at this point. This says, I want him to be Imu's father. Imu's father, and Imu is just a jaded, cranky boy, and Mihawk refuses to spank him. What's going on? What did I just read? Bro, it's definitely related to Mihawk after that last panel. What if Imu was Mihawk's sensei? That'd be kind of crazy. Imu trained Mihawk. That'd kind of be a nuts one. I mean, people do like the theory or the thought that Imu is, possessing bodies. Oh my god, that's been a long-running theory for a minute as well, right? Oh, Imu's possessing Lily. Imu actually has Joy Boy's body. Imu has Davy Jones's body. Imu's using the 20 Kings' body. If he's a body hopper, maybe he did want Mihawk. He's like, hey, you got the eyes? Cool, let's train you up a little bit, and then I'll take over it later. I don't necessarily believe in this. Again, Mihawk looked, as a kid, as if he grew up poor, so I wouldn't necessarily jump on this right away. But I don't hate it. I don't necessarily hate it. And the thing is, when it comes to the God Knights, man, where did they get their powers from anyways? Who did they train against? Maybe it was Imu. I mean, even when Saint Sommers and Killingham got the Omen Maki buff, they acted like it wasn't the first time. They said, yo, boss, thanks for the Maki. Dude, thanks for the Omen. Yeah, maybe they do train together. Maybe there is a world where the sensei route makes sense. Definitely gives Kid Moderate and Kid Hashirama vibes. Shanks and Mihawk are cut from the same cloth. Yeah, and they both have bird things going on with them, right? Mihawk, Hawk is definitely there, right? Hawk eyes. And then Shanks, again, has Griffin, which is a flying mythical beast. Maybe the connection's always been there, man. It's been right in front of our damn faces. As far as the relationship, this could, again, explain why they're so friendly with each other, where the rivalry came from. And another character to bring up, of course, would be Doflamingo. Doflamingo and Mihawk are pretty cordial with each other. According to people who translate Japanese, whenever Doflamingo talks to Mihawk, he does put a little bit more respect in his words. It could be because he's talking to a fellow celestial dragon, a fellow fallen celestial dragon. This says, my biggest issue with the theory is that we've seen Child Mihawk and his clothes he had don't look at all like those celestial dragons would wear. So unless it's a repeat of Don Quixote's situation, I can't see him as one. Yeah, and that's kind of where I fall. I do think that he was, maybe like the Cinderella of the family. Maybe he was abandoned very early on. It could have been one of those things where a celestial dragon came to town and he did a pump and dump. Kind of like how Garling did that, right? Garling, the way he got Shanks and Shamrock wasn't because he fell in love with another noble and brought her back to the Holy Land. No, that didn't happen, man. She thought that was gonna happen, right? She said, hey, Garling, where are we going? What's happening to the island? And then he's just like, all right, peace out, buddy. See ya in hell. Maybe Mihawk's the same way. Maybe the dad simply went to an island, pumped and dumped, Mihawk was born, the mom dies somewhere along the way, boom, Dracule Mihawk has ascended. That could be it too. Ooh, and another spin on the rivalry between Shanks and Mihawk isn't that it spawned in the Holy Land. Maybe Mihawk just didn't like celestial dragons. So he's like, hey, Shanks, you're a god knight? I don't F with that. I'm gonna fight you. And then Shanks says, whoa, 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 I'm not really one of them. And then, yeah, we have the friendship, the rivalry. It could spawn from there too, right? There's a lot of angles that we can tackle this theory from, where Mihawk is a celestial dragon by blood, but he's not necessarily royalty in that way. This says, can't wait for the flashback of Kid Shanks and Kid Mihawk sparring as kids. That'd be a lot of fun. The eyes, the sword, and the fact that Imu's attack looked exactly like Mihawk's attack on Luffy, that looks like more than a coincidence. Another thing too, I don't put a lot of stock in this one. Again, there's so many things we could pull from when it comes to Mihawk and celestial dragons. This one I'd rate pretty low, but I want to bring it up because a lot of people are talking about it. The chapter where Imu stabs Loki is called A God and a Devil. The chapter where Mihawk comes down from above and tries to attack Luffy is titled Luffy versus Mihawk. So people are like, oh, God versus Devil. And then going to Luffy versus Mihawk, that can also be considered a God versus a Devil if Mihawk does have Nerona blood within him. Again, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I do think that is a really nice point. Mihawk, I was just a retcon. Chill. Yeah, here's the thing, right? One Piece, it has a lot of liberties given to it because it is such a long series. Oda can change his mind at the drop of a hat. Oda has so much wiggle room with the plot that he could literally wake up tomorrow and say, you know what? Maybe Mihawk is a celestial dragon. Just because Mihawk's character wasn't initially meant to be one, he can easily become one. It's like Shanks, right? Shanks, I doubt day one Oda said, you know what? Shanks is from the Fagarland family. He has a twin brother. His dad's gonna be a member of the Gorosei. Send it. No. Shanks started as Shanks, and then as time went on, I'm sure Oda got more and more ideas, and then he fully fleshed out the Shamrock plotline. I do think the same could be said for Mihawk and so many other characters. It's like how Kid, Eustace Captain Kid, initially was supposed to have a good spotlight shown on him post-time skip. But Oda said, you know what, guys? Just so many people love Trafalgar D-Law that I just had to give him the spotlight instead. Oh my god. And then even the supernova. Oda said that Sabaody wasn't super interesting off rip, so he woke up one week and he created 12 supernova. That's crazy, brother. So when it comes to this, oh, was he always going to be a celestial dragon? It doesn't have to be the case. This could definitely be a final saga thing that Oda is pushing towards now. I do feel like Mihawk was a god's knight, but he ended up rebelling and going out on his own. Yeah, main problem with this, or main question, I should say, would be, does he still have a Mark of the Abyss? That right there is something that is hard to get rid of. I mean, Shanks got rid of it because he was a tier 1 god knight, god steel, and of course his arm was eaten. Mihawk, if he's a god knight, then that is permanent, right? You keep that until you die, to our knowledge. So that is why I wouldn't say that Mihawk went as far as to become a god's knight, but that door is there. That door is there. Now, I just feel like this is an oddball one, because that would mean that at any point in time, Mihawk could simply get possessed unless he got rid of it. So I wouldn't go that far, but, like I said, it is right there if you want to go there. Olvia, Robin resembling Imu, will never not shock me. Oh yeah, people have brought up Robin as an interesting character to be related to Imu because of the nose, primarily. The nose, the devil thing, right? Devil's child. We have the transformation with Robin turning into a devil against Black Maria. That is fascinating. When it comes to Imu, surely, we know his heart was broken by Lily, but he must have dumped that seed somewhere. Surely, there's like a couple of Nerona diluted blood people out there, and maybe Olvia's one of them, maybe Robin's one of them, maybe Mihawk's one of them. Did Imu get around? How many people actually slept with this guy? 900 years, man. 900 years with nothing? I don't know. But then again, I mean, your existence is a secret, so maybe he just waters the flowers, as they say. I've been on the train of him being a celestial dragon for a long damn time. The more info we get, the better I feel about it. Yeah, this is a theory that has aged beautifully. It's only gone up as time has gone on. And as you can see, again, 79% of people agree with it, right? This says he either used to be a former holy knight, a bastard of Imu, or both. Him being a celestial dragon would be fun. Also, it would explain some things. However, to not be disappointed, I'll vote for normal person. Dude, hey man. Yeah, don't get in your own head with this, right? When it comes to theories, if it comes out tomorrow that Imu is not a celestial, we take it on the chin, right? I feel like that's how we gotta tackle most theories. If theories come true, W's, man. If it doesn't, that's totally fine. At least we had fun cooking up and brainstorming some ideas. The only thing I'd be disappointed in is if Mihawk was from the long arm or long leg tribe. If you told me that Mihawk had this dirty, I don't know, giant Tontada blood in him or something of the sort, I would hate that. I'd much rather him be a normal person over one of those different race weirdos. So, let's see here. This one says, Imu has been alive all this time. He's gotta get some seeds out there. That's what I said, man. He's gotta be pollinating, you know what I mean? He is definitely a celestial. Didn't expect to see the face from the Usopp filler episode in Logtown. Hey, this was a good episode, damn it. I loved Daddy Masterson. He was the most down-to-earth, regular guy in the world of One Piece, and I respect it. Only downside is that he wasn't super strong. I mean, granted, we haven't seen him in a battle, but we know he lost against Yasopp, and then he did, give in to Usopp, which He didn't fight Usopp, he simply, respected Usopp's sharp shooting. This says, this theory is already an upgrade from Mihawk is the son of Rayleigh theory. See, this one was always crazy. The Mihawk is the son of Rayleigh and Shaggy theory was always pretty insane because this didn't have a lot of legs, right? This was mainly, hey, they got the vibes, man. They got the vibes. I think they have like the same facial hair as well. And people kind of ran with it. So yeah, I never really believed in this one. I always felt that this theory was more of a meme than anything. This one says, we do know Mihawk's eyes are red in the manga, right? Those are the same canon eye colors, not orange, not gold, red. He could be a cousin of Imu, but descendant from him, I don't think so. A cousin of Imu. Okay, so we're adding in like more Neronas on the side. I wouldn't hate it. Yeah, I mean, surely Imu has other Neronas out there, right? Surely it's not just him. I wouldn't mind if there's like a, I don't know, Baldwin Nerona out there in the world. Oswald Nerona. Jonathan Nerona just out there hanging out. And of course, that could be where Mihawk is from, which, would tie back to the Nerona family. So I do not mind that whatsoever. And of course, it would help flesh out the world of One Piece a little bit more. Like, surely there's not just this one guy from the family and that's it, right? Like Venus, for example. Surely Venus, the samurai Gandhi Gorosei guy, surely he has a son out there somewhere. I mean, at least for St. Somers, they did that, right? St. Somers is related to Jupiter, so I wouldn't mind introducing more from these families. Hell, thinking about this in terms of the final war in Shonen, they could be really good filler battles, man. How many hints is Oda gonna drop to say that they are related? If Mihawk is either of the first two options, then we have officially peaked Nepo piece. Hey, in my opinion, we're only going to get more Nepo piece. Again, if you don't like Nepo piece, that is totally fine. But the thing is, man, Nami is right there. Nami has this mysterious backstory. We don't know who her parents are. Oda has been tackling the parents one by one with the Straw Hats. We got Sanji with the Vinsmokes, and then we had the Frankie Queen stuff, Zoro in the SBS. It's like, Nami's right there, dude. Nami is waiting to get that backstory ripped open one more time. And like I said, I don't think it's going to stop there too. I think more characters are going to end up being related or, close descendants or something like that. That's just how the cookie crumbles, brother. This says, the eyes never lie, Chico. I would rather him be completely self-made, but I wouldn't be against him being related to Imu, depending on how it's spun. If he was a illegitimate child descendant or something, so he wasn't a real celestial dragon, I could F with that. Yep, this is where I fall. Yeah. Illegitimate child, bastard child, half-blood. Yeah. I am down. Related somehow, maybe not literally family, but there has to be some connection. This is Nepo piece. He is definitely related to somebody important. Dracule Mihawk Nerona. I think he's related to that vessel. Many possibilities if there are others. Is it possible the only reason he lives in the mortal realm is because he always wanted to challenge himself? Possibly. If you want to be the world's strongest swordsman, you're not going to get that title up in the Holy Land, right? Maybe you'll be like the strongest swordsman against St. Somers and Killingham, but there's much stronger people down in the lower realm. So yeah, maybe he wanted a challenge. When it comes to Mihawk, there is one part about his backstory that we do know. At a certain point in time, he was renowned as the Marine Hunter. And Oda said the reason why is because he was betrayed by the Marines. We don't know how, when, or anything about that, but that is another aspect of his backstory that needs to be explained. I'm not too sure if we'll ever get like a full-blown, 2-3 chapter Mihawk backstory, but I think it would be well welcomed. Maybe they dropped the Mihawk backstory alongside the Shanks early Pirate Day backstory. I do wonder how or if this will ever come to fruition, or if this will simply be an SBS question. Let's hope not. With that being said, though, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this down below. I'd love to hear those thoughts and opinions. And of course, we will be back soon whenever chapter 1182 rolls around. Peace out and stay safe, y'all.